I can reflect God back? Don't I get a rest? What you mean is, don't I get time to be fuzzy and unconscious? As though being conscious and the presence of an active agent for change is not natural to you and is not easy for you because it's natural for you. It is easy for you, but you've been practicing, let us say that you can be conscious at warp speed, but you've been practicing traveling at only 5,000 miles an hour, where you didn't have to pay as much attention and you could see the sights at your leisure. Oh, you see. Warp speed is natural to you. And you will find that it's natural to you when you're willing to come out of the closet, when you're willing to get off the couch, out of your easy chair, out of your mentally fuzzy thinking, and actually be conscious with God for yourself and your brother, so that none of capital C creation escapes your notice, and so that the wholeness of you doesn't escape your notice. You know what? You've got to stop giving rights to the human condition. You've got to stop giving rights to the human condition. Oh, well, they're only human, you know. We're bound to have terrorists. You can't get rid of terrorists. Everybody has their different points of view, and there's always going to be terrorists. Bullshit. Stop being lackadaisical in your mind. Stop giving rights to the human condition. The human condition is an illusion. It can't be given any rights because it doesn't exist. But to the degree that you're lazy and sloppy in your thinking and give it rights and you say, well, there's nothing you can do about that. You know what? The best thing to do is leave it alone and it'll go away. No, it won't. Because the ego is intent upon preserving itself and undermining and getting rid of that which will disclose its non-existence. Leave it alone, and it will secure more and more ground by virtue of mutually agreed upon definitions of more and more people who are valuing their illusions. And as long as it's going on over in the Middle East, or as long as it's going off some distance away from you, you can for a while say, just ignore it, it'll go away. But you know what? That's not the way the ego works. The ego is squeezing God out. Not successfully, but that is its motive, because only in the absence of God can an illusory sense of self seem to have any presence and existence. You see that? You know what? Don't speak up. And the human condition will expand until it's on your doorstep, in your face, aggressively undermining whatever peace you had been able to achieve by virtue of uninvolvement because you were at a distance. And now you'll be faced with the call that I've been giving you today, a call for correction that I've been presenting to you today. Not because there's a threat out there, but because you want to wake up. And you've said you want to wake up, and you've said you want to be an agent for change, that you do want to glorify God, and you don't glorify God passively by uninvolvement and not magnifying the lie by pointing it out, uncovering it. It will arrive at your doorstep, and then you will have to do what I'm saying today. Because it will be overwhelming. It will be in your face. Now, I'm not suggesting that you're on the threshold of Armageddon. I'm not suggesting that you're on the threshold of a great war, inner or outer. I'm not describing anything any worse than is going on at this very instant. At this very instant, you're not awake. You're the sons and daughters of God, whose mind is your right mind. And the contents of that infinite mind are by birthright yours, and you're not experiencing them. And you will not regain the experience of them through some private spiritual process of waking up. Now, I've said that the only thing the ego can't defend itself against is disregard. So, does that mean that as long as you disregard the ego, you can go along your merry way and everything will be hunky-dory? No, because you're not awake yet. Because there's something else to do besides not defend yourself against the ego by disregarding it. The something else is to want to wake up, to want to come back into your sanity, to want your right mind, which never abandoned you, but which you compartmentalized so that the majority of it was out of sight, so that it might be restored to you. And what I've shared with you today will help you deal with the way the ego will attempt to distract you from your desire to come back into your right mind, so that you won't be surprised and shocked that it's happening, and so that you won't be afraid of it when it happens, as well as illuminating the fact that when your brother or sister is caught in the pleasure of indulging in an illusion and wanting to keep that covered up, if you don't want the effects of what they're covering up to eventually encroach directly on you in your face, you will uncover it with love and with education. And you won't be afraid to say, this is wrong and this is right. You know, you grew up, you were a child, and you looked forward to the day you were 21 when you would be emancipated from your teachers and you would graduate into being independent, not realizing that it wasn't independence at all, but was a shift into a responsibility to be cooperative with the whole, yielding to that which blesses the whole, and that at no point was there the freedom to be like a wild cannonball careening without any order or path everywhere and anywhere it wanted to go, with no intelligence to it whatsoever. The belief was that when you got to be 21, you wouldn't have to do any more learning. You would have learned enough to be able to function without any more information, directions, rules crammed down your throat that you would have to abide by. And so it's very difficult for many so-called adults to adjust to the fact that society and circumstances and so on place requirements on them, and they have to change if they haven't been willing to cooperate with the way things work. And, well, the fact is, learning goes on. And as long as learning of truth goes on, change occurs in you, and you grow, and you become something new. Your desire not to be told what to do or how things work, your desire to be free of having to cooperate with the way things work, fuels your resistance to telling other people the truth, telling other people that there is need for change, that this works and this doesn't work, and therefore you need to start doing what works. Being the voice for truth. Well, I grew up, I got away from home, I'm making a living, I'm supporting myself, I'm paying my way, I'm not leaning on anyone. No one has a right to tell me anything. Not true. And once it dawns on you that it's your job to witness for your brother and sister, to be there with them and for them, on their behalf, and that they're there for you, they're there with you for the same reason, when that becomes clear to you, you will stop being afraid to open up your mouth and say, stop this now. This works. Do that. As long as everyone thinks they have the right not to have to learn anything new and change, you will continue to have evidences of chaos and confusion in your relationships, in your country, and internationally. I said earlier that you would have your chance to ask questions. I'm not going to. Because I want what I've said to sit there undiluted by comments and where the questions might lead us. And next week, at the beginning, if you have questions relative to what I've said today, we will take time for that, because to tell you the truth, I hope you do have questions. I hope it moves you to the consideration of uncomfortable things, which will cause you to have questions that will be less fuzzy than you might otherwise have had, and because of their focus, will lead to answers that will be even more illuminating. Do you know how much I love you?
Yes. I love you.
Love you. We gotta love each other.
I look forward to being with you next week.